The question that I have is, Rabbi, what do you make of white Jews disassociating themselves from European identity? I don't know if you saw the whole controversy with the magazine, and I did have a brief discussion with Rabbi Chaim Samuel about it because he also posted an article from a blogger. He basically agreed that Ashkenazi Jews or just Jews in general should identify as Middle Eastern as opposed to European Jews.
I disagree. If you're African, if you're European, why can you be an African Jew? Why can you be a European Jew? Why can you be a Latin American Jew? Who cares what they say? The Jewish people aren't a nation like the French and the Irish are a nation, okay? We're a nation made up of belief that encourages actions. So we could be from all over the world. As a matter of fact, it speaks better for our religion as a testimony to other people that, you know what, we're not just Middle Eastern. We're Asian, we're Native American, it sounds very insular to just say that we're Middle Eastern. Yes, in terms, now like we live in the Middle East. The vast majority of Jews also now still don't live in Israel. I don't know why they would make that argument. Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. It was just interesting because it started with the magazine. I don't know if you saw the cartoon for the kids where basically you have these, I guess, seemingly black Africans, and they have these seemingly white people, I guess, detained. And then they're asking him like, oh, are these the same Europeans that took our land? And then these Jews responded, or the people responded, well, we're not white, we're actually Jewish. And that kind of sparked a bit of a...
That's so silly.
Right.
That's so silly. The vast majority of Jews in America are white. The Jews in New York, Ashkenazi Jews are white. I'm of the opinion that the vast majority of people who are Ashkenazi are actually descended from converts. Not necessarily from Khazaria, but not excluding that idea. Why should people run away from that? And to be true, no Jew ever calls himself European. They'll say Ashkenazi.
I think, in my opinion, I think the reason why they disassociate themselves from, identifying as a white European, I think it's because maybe they recognize that, white Europeans have an ugly history of colonizing other countries or other lands and enslaving people. Because
the Jews also had a part to play in that. Jews were slave traders in the transatlantic slave trade and had slaves. There's letters found in the oldest synagogue in America, I think it's in Rhode Island, of Jewish slave owners asking halachic questions regarding how they treat their slaves. Jews also own plantations. Now, if they want to run away from that, they're doing it in a dishonest manner. The vast majority of Jews didn't live in the North. And there's a good book on it called The Sins of Our Fathers that talks about there's this famous slave trader. His name was De Lopez, Portuguese. They very much had a big part to play in the transatlantic slave trade, and Spanish Portuguese Jews ran most of it. Yeah.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the term Middle East or Middle Eastern like a term that was given by the Romans? So if that's a fact, isn't it ironic that they want to identify as Middle Eastern? Because you're essentially taking a European-based term to identify as.
I'm all for making Judaism inclusive, open to everybody.
More color.
Why should I want to just limit it, saying that we're all Middle Easterns, where we're a mixture of different races and colors, and what unites us are our actions and our beliefs. It doesn't matter how you look.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think it was crazy, like how a magazine that was designed for children could put that out, to essentially push an agenda.
I actually think that people who come from that region are a lot more primitive than people who came from Europe. And I see this, how the Middle East has more of an influence towards Europeans than Europeans have had towards the Middle East. When Americans make Aliyah, they start adopting Middle Eastern customs. Like all these mannerisms, even all the food in Israel is not Jewish food. This is Greek, Turkish, or Middle Eastern food, but it's not Jewish, right? But nowadays we think, oh, falafel, shawarma. This is not Jewish food. There's no such thing as Jewish food outside of maybe gefilte fish and some other European dishes that are just culturally Jewish. But we don't have food outside of matzah. Okay.
Rabbi David Bachaim, he did a lecture a while ago. Got pulled from YouTube, and it was basically what is the Orthodox response to Palestine and what should Israel do as regards to foreigners entering the land. Basically, he was saying as Jews we should go in there and take our land back because it's our God-given land, and basically excuse the French, but screw everybody else. Like, we're Jews, this is our land. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but it was an eye opener for me.
Right.
So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, being that the vast majority of people who live in Israel aren't religious, he's not really saying anything. So this is what I never understood when Meir Kahane would propose the same thing. I mean, how can you do that with a secular country? The secular people would just say, no, we're not going to fight. And then the Arabs will really destroy us. It's right what he's saying. In an ideal situation, when the Jewish people have done tshuva and they're entering the land, and this is what Ezra did. Don't forget, when Ezra and Nehemiah entered the land of Israel from Babylon, they basically policed the people there. They started fighting with the Samaritans. They told the Israelite men to divorce their pagan wives, and they instituted a Torah state. I think from that perspective, the land could be attained again in a proper manner, and we don't have to wait for some Messiah to redeem us. We were redeemed from Babylon. I mean, who was the Messiah then?
Yeah. And that's what Ben Barkhoim was saying. He was saying that the Messiah to come is more a military figure, and he will re-establish the state of Israel. Contradictory to the Christian message. So, yeah.